surprised, shall we say, when you announced earlier this week that you're in favour of nationalising British Steel in Scunthorpe. I mean, I always thought you were on the right of the centre. You're not a socialist, are you?
No, although given what Keir Starmer's been saying lately, he sounds way to the right of the Conservative Party. So surprising things can happen. The difference is I've been consistent on this. I've been warning very publicly ever since the Chinese, Jinghe, bought British Steel. I've been saying from the start.
But throughout the time when Keir Starmer was leader, I was making this point over and over and over again, is that if you refuse to make the class-based case for nationalisation, a right-winger will make the nationalist case for nationalisation, because we all know that the privatisation of loads of industries has failed.
Yeah.
Because Keir Starmer wants to not look too socialist, he's refusing to make the socialist argument for it. And so it's left the door wide open for Nigel Farage to make it a nationalist issue. So it's not economics, this is about geopolitics for him, you know?
To close it down. It was very obvious to me what was going on. And I have to say, if by the end of this week, if by Friday, orders have not gone in for coking coal and for iron ore pellets, then by the middle of May, we will become the only country in the G20 that is not a producer of primary steel. And so I take the view...
Wow, if only your fucking heroine, Margaret Thatcher, can we get some lols in chat for her still being fucking dead, hadn't destroyed and hollowed out the industrial base of this nation.
Yeah,
and you cheered it up.
Yeah, if only his ideological predecessor hadn't sold it to Jinghe in the first place.
And particularly given we're going to increase spending on defence, the world's a very uncertain place. You already in this programme have talked with the Prime Minister about this big new theme adventure park that's going to be built in Bedfordshire. I mean, that's going to need tens of thousands of tonnes of steel. We should be producing that here in our country, consuming it, using it, procuring it in our country. Steel is a vital strategic national asset. So I've gone for nationalisation because...
He's partially right here, but the thing is that we make very high quality steel at Scunthorpe and at Port Talbot. So it's not going to get used for the theme park. It will get used for military purposes, and so he's right to say that it's strategically important if we want to increase our military capacity through domestic manufacturing. But the vast majority of the steel that we make, the high-quality military-grade steel that comes out of Port Talbot and Scunthorpe, that gets exported. We import cheap rebar and shit like that for our own industrial capacity that we use ourselves, and that's the kind of thing that would go into making a roller coaster. But for military-grade steel, that would be the national reason for wanting it for strategic purposes.
If we don't get a deal of any kind at all by Friday, it's the end of steel production in Britain. It's the end of us, literally the end of us as an industrial nation. So let's nationalise it.
But you pointed out we don't have a competitive advantage in steel. We are absolutely world class in services. You made your money in services. This company is losing £700,000 a day. Are you sure this is a good use of taxpayer? Are you sure this is a good use of taxpayers' money?
Jinghe wanted this to fail. They didn't buy it for economic reasons. They bought it to close it down. So that China becomes ever more important.
Why did they buy it?
The Chinese government wanted to destroy Britain through Scunthorpe.
I mean, it almost feels like it is a he's literally doing fucking Red Scare propaganda here. Yeah, to beat the communists, you must accept communism, steal communism.
Well, bizarrely, that is essentially the nation, the foundation of the welfare state. In essence, the reason that so many Western governments accepted this, A, because it was sort of backed up by American money, and secondly, they didn't want the populace turning towards communism. And as soon as the threat of the USSR disappears, all of a sudden, all of those safety nets and public ownership just disappears.
That's the point he's trying to say here, somehow, that Jinghe deliberately bought it to make it fail and shut down a strategic asset for geopolitical reasons. Is Jinghe actually got any amounts of Chinese government ownership? It probably has a reasonable amount. But they bought it in 2020. If their plan was to just make it fail, why has it not failed before now?
700 grand a day for 4 years. I don't, honestly, if the Chinese government are pissing that kind of money away, I think that they don't need to. Again, the meme remains undefeated. Do nothing, win. They didn't need to do this to
yeah.
us. We're killing ourselves as it is.
That's an expensive long game to play, right?
Yeah, that's really weird. Like, because they don't own Port Talbot, and yet that's fucked as well. So, like,
That's
why
Tata, yeah.
why did they need to? They didn't need to do this if that was their plan. It didn't take the Chinese to destroy our industrial base. It took 10 years of Thatcher. And then I suppose 7 years of Major and a few years. Anyway, it's a bit more complicated, but basically neoliberalism killed that.
Yep.
The Chinese didn't need to do anything. Just sit back and laugh, lads.
You sure this isn't some mad conspiracy theory?
China
wants to take the world over and dominate the world in every...
It is. It's just Red Scare. Oh, the Chinese under the bed. Brilliant.
That's the thing. China wanted to take over the world by shutting down our steel industry so we couldn't have the theme park.
Literally. They wanted to deny us the monorail.
Every way that it can. I have no doubt that Jingay were a bad actor from day one. I publicly said the Conservative Party should not have let them buy it. And here's the point. The reason that Grangemouth is closing, the reason I said before the break that all of our main industries are going, is because our energy costs are 5 times that. I mean, can you believe that? 5 times what they are in the USA. And this is because of the obsession of both our major parties and most of...
Literally nothing to do with the privatization of the sector, including the fucking grid. Again, if you wanted to talk about bad actors and other countries owning our infrastructure, how about we discuss the energy companies? Shall we? Should we talk about the other countries who do our energy supply that we pay money to, or the Canadian pension funds that own the grid that we pay a surcharge to? All of this stuff on top of our incredibly stupid system, because privatising the grid is literally the dumbest decision any government's ever made, ever.
Another privatisation success story.
The view lot in mainstream media with achieving net zero. We are committing economic harry-carry. We have to produce our own gas. We have to produce our own oil. And indeed, produce our own...
Is Harry Carey the new striker for England?
But listen, we haven't got enough oil and gas to be self-sufficient. We could be self-sufficient in renewables and...
Actually right there. We could be self-sufficient in renewables. The issue, of course, though, is that as soon as you have enough abundance of renewables that you get to the point where in surge periods we wouldn't turn on the gas supplies, that's bad for the private owners of the renewables who are missing out on huge profits. So why would they invest to the level that we would need to get to for supply of renewables? We could do entirely renewable energy, because that would lose them money. Why would they do it? Literally, because the privatisation is the problem. Even if it's a public-private partnership, they will not invest if the capacity would get us above the point that we wouldn't need the marginal price of gas, because that's where they make their money. When the gas has a certain level of price, renewables make the same level, and because the renewables are cheaper than the gas production, they make a bigger profit. So they will not invest up to that point if we have to nationalise it.
If we made those investments, and the price of nuclear and the price of renewables would be a fraction of oil and gas.
Renewables don't exist without massive subsidy, and renewables have put up to 20...
Motherfucker, what are you doing with Scunthorpe nationalising it then? Is that not
£700,000 a day?
Yeah, that's a pretty significant thing, isn't it? Like, that's a lot of money. And don't get me wrong,
and that's a subsidy. That's just a subsidy.
It is it's absolutely directly a subsidy. Which, by the way, is genuinely one of the few Brexit benefits, is that we can do that now without having to pay fines to the EU for doing so. But anyway, regardless of that, yeah, you're literally planning on doing that right now.
And it shows you that the entire basis of the steel nationalisation stuff is entirely performative. He doesn't believe a word of what he's saying, because it's all contradictory. He's just doing it for likes and clicks and to try and beat Labour at their own game.
Yeah.
Obviously, not at their own game, at the Labour Party's traditional game, of course. Keir Starmer isn't a Labour Prime Minister, he is the Starmer Prime Minister, because the Labour Party doesn't exist anymore, but you get my point.
20% on the bills of consumers over the last 2 decades, let alone what they've done to British industry, giving us the most expensive energy in the world. Renewables at this moment in time, without subsidy, don't work. And the more wind turbines we build, the higher our electricity costs go. Now, on nuclear...
The increase of supply will put the price up, apparently.
Yeah, well done, Nigel. Yeah, super.
Does someone want to explain the concept of the supply-demand curve to this Thatcherite, please?
Yeah, on nuclear, on nuclear, fine. I'm with you in every sense. However, it takes many, many years to make it work. We have enough gas and enough oil, albeit dependent on the price, not just to be self-sufficient.
Okay, and we're going to have to disagree about this another time, annoyingly, because I've been told we're out of time. But we will definitely have a conversation again about this. And we've also got to have a conversation about the theory of comparative advantage, because if you're against tariffs, you should be against subsidies to companies like British Steel. But we'll come back to that another time.
So let's have cheap energy. Cheap energy, and then the formula works.
Nigel Farage, I'm going to come back to this with you another time. Believe me.
Honestly, I hate both of these humans.
But I mean, Peston is the one who is correct here. Like, Nigel Farage is a total gigantic hypocrite. And actually, for once, a journalist showed him up, questioned him on his completely irreconcilable positions, and he didn't have an answer for it. Hey there, if you enjoyed the video, make sure that you like and leave a comment. That helps the video out in the algorithm. If you subscribe and ring the bell, it'll let you know when I go live. I stream every day on YouTube and Twitch. You can also follow all of my socials down in the description. And if you want to support me in a more financial manner, there's a join button for membership to just 99p to be a member on YouTube, as well as a Patreon, and there's some merch there as well. And hopefully I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.